How dare you touch my bag? The voice cut through the quiet hum of the busy cafe like a whip, sharp and accusing. Heads turned immediately, forks paused mid-air, coffee cups trembled in nervous hands. Tiana stood frozen, a tray of drinks balanced carefully in her hands, her heart pounding in her chest. She hadn't touched the woman's designer purse. She hadn't even been near it, yet the entire cafe seemed to have stopped breathing, waiting for her to confess to a crime she didn't commit. The woman, tall, impeccably dressed, dripping in wealth and confidence, pointed directly at Tiana, her voice rising, echoing off the walls. "You were right there. Admit it." Tiana opened her mouth, words caught in her throat. I didn't touch your bag, ma'am," she said softly, trying to stay calm, hoping someone would intervene. But the gaze of every guest in the room burned into her like 1,000 tiny needles. Whispers spread like wildfire. Phones appeared, capturing the scene for anyone who might find amusement in her humiliation. Every eye was on her, every judgment heavy in the air. She wanted to disappear, to sink through the floorboards of the cafe and be anywhere else but here. "I saw you," the woman continued, voice trembling with indignation. "You reached for it, you know you did, and I will not let this pass." Tiana felt the weight of the accusation pressing on her chest. She felt small, invisible, judged unfairly. She could hear the murmurs, some sympathetic, many skeptical, others amused, but none spoke up to defend her. Her pulse raced. She wanted to explain, to make them understand that she was innocent. But fear wrapped around her words. What would happen if she tried to argue? What if they called the police? Her entire world seemed to shrink into that moment. And yet, she didn't move. She didn't run. She didn't beg. She stood there, quiet, letting the storm rage around her, holding on to the smallest shred of dignity she could grasp. And as she stood, the question came to her, the one that seemed impossible to answer, but pressed into the corners of her mind. Why did this happen to her? Why was she the one singled out in a room full of strangers? And as she trembled, trying to hold herself together, I want to pause for a moment, friends, and ask you, who are you watching from right now? Are you sitting in your living room in New York? Or perhaps on a quiet morning in London, scrolling through your phone? Maybe you're somewhere warm or somewhere cold, but wherever you are, take a second to breathe and consider this. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button if you want more stories that pull back the curtain on the unexpected moments of everyday life. Now, imagine being in Tiana's shoes, a young woman trying to make her way in the world, simply doing her job, when suddenly all eyes are on you, accusing you of something you didn't do. That's the reality she faced that morning, a reality that tested her patience, her courage, and her very sense of self. The woman's voice cut through again, sharper this time. "Do you deny it?" she demanded, each word like a hammer striking against Tiana's ribs. "Do you dare to look me in the eye and claim you did nothing?" Tiana's lips trembled. She knew that looking back would invite more aggression, more accusation, more public shaming. And yet, she couldn't lower her eyes entirely. She whispered, just enough for the woman to hear, "I didn't take it. I swear, I didn't touch your bag." A collective hush fell over the cafe. The whispers paused. Phones stopped recording, as if the room itself was holding its breath. No one knew what would happen next. The woman's face twisted with disbelief and fury. She gestured wildly, drawing attention to herself and Tiana at the same time. "Then where is it?" she cried. "Tell me, how could it possibly disappear unless you took it?" Tiana's hands shook, gripping the tray as if it were her only anchor to reality. She wanted to scream, to cry, to vanish, but instead, she stayed rooted, steady in a way that surprised even herself. Around them, the cafe staff exchanged uneasy glances. No one dared intervene. The regulars shifted in their seats, glancing at the unfolding scene with curiosity and discomfort. Some whispered to each other, questioning why Tiana didn't run or why the woman assumed the worst. But none of them acted. The air was thick with tension, and even the hum of the espresso machine seemed too loud in the silence that had settled. Tiana's thoughts raced. She tried to recall every step she had taken since the cafe opened, every interaction, every careful movement. She remembered placing trays, pouring drinks, greeting customers, wiping tables. She knew the truth, and the truth was hers alone. But at that moment, with every eye upon her, the truth felt fragile, like a delicate glass ornament teetering on the edge of a shelf. The woman's voice rose again, full of venom. "Do you even understand what you've done?" she demanded. "This bag is worth more than a month of salaries for most people here. And yet, you dare stand there and deny it?" Tiana's throat tightened. She swallowed hard. She felt the sting of every whispered judgment, the weight of the collective suspicion pressing down on her. And still, she remained standing. And in that quiet defiance, in that moment of unbearable pressure, the story of Tiana's mourning, a story of unjust accusation, of public humiliation, and of the invisible burden placed on those unfairly judged, had only just begun. The tension in the cafe had reached its peak, every word from the woman striking like a hammer, echoing through the room, heavy with accusation and outrage. Tiana remained standing, her hands trembling slightly, but her voice steady when she whispered again, "I didn't touch your bag." The murmurs from the crowd grew louder, a mixture of curiosity, sympathy, and judgment, each person quietly taking sides without speaking. The woman's eyes narrowed, disbelief flashing across her face, her fingers pointing as if they alone could summon the truth from Tiana's chest. "You expect me to believe that?" she demanded, voice sharp and unyielding. "Do you think I'm blind? Do you think no one saw you?" Tiana swallowed, the taste of panic sharp on her tongue, but she remained silent, letting the accusations hang in the air like storm clouds ready to burst. The room seemed to shrink around her, the gaze of every guest pressing into her skin, and she felt the weight of their judgment as if it were a tangible force. Just as the tension threatened to overwhelm her, a calm voice cut through the noise. "Let's solve this calmly," it said, measured and steady. Marcus stepped forward, the authority in his tone creating a pause in the chaos, giving the crowd a moment to breathe and Tiana a fragile thread of hope. He addressed the woman directly, his voice firm but not confrontational, asking for the details of the situation and suggesting they review the cafe's security footage to clarify what had really happened. The woman hesitated, her anger mingling with embarrassment, and for the first time a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. Marcus turned to Tiana, offering her a small, reassuring nod, a silent acknowledgement of her innocence and her courage to stand her ground despite the public scrutiny. Guests murmured among themselves, some leaning forward, intrigued, others shifting uneasily in their seats, aware that they were witnessing something far more significant than a simple misunderstanding. The accusation had become a spectacle, a test of character, and now the truth seemed poised to step forward, guided by calm reason rather than rage. Marcus instructed a staff member to pull the footage from the security cameras, and as the screens flickered to life, the room grew silent again, anticipation heavy in the air. Time seemed to stretch as the moments played out, each frame revealing the ordinary morning routines, the careful movements, the reality that contradicted the accusation. Tiana's hands remained clasped in front of her, her breathing measured, her gaze fixed on the floor for just a moment before rising again, steady and unwavering. The woman's face shifted subtly with every frame, her certainty eroding as the truth unfolded before everyone's eyes. She had expected evidence to confirm her suspicions, but the footage told a different story entirely, one in which Tiana never came near the bag, never even glanced in its direction. The crowd shifted, a quiet ripple of realization passing through the cafe, a collective intake of breath, acknowledging the unfairness of what had just transpired. Some guests whispered to each other, astonishment and shame mingling in their tones, while others lowered their eyes, unable to meet Tiana's quiet strength. The woman's face tightened, her composure beginning to crumble under the weight of undeniable proof, and for the first time, she faltered, her voice losing the commanding edge it had held moments before. Marcus maintained a calm presence, his tone steady and deliberate, repeating the facts as they appeared on the footage, guiding the audience through each frame with precision and clarity. He spoke not with anger, not with accusation, but with reason and fairness, allowing the truth to speak louder than any outburst could. Tiana listened, her pulse gradually slowing, her tension easing slightly, knowing that vindication was approaching, yet the room still held its breath, caught between disbelief and acknowledgement. The whispers grew quieter as guests processed the reality, their judgment shifting from suspicion to empathy, their eyes now filled with understanding rather than expectation. The woman's shoulders slumped ever so slightly, her eyes darting toward Tiana, searching for a reaction, any hint of guilt, but finding none. Tiana's posture remained composed, her voice calm and polite when she finally spoke, reiterating, "I did not touch the bag, and I was simply doing my job." Her words, simple and measured, carried more weight than the woman's anger ever could, resonating with the crowd in a way that no accusation could overpower. Marcus's steady guidance allowed the narrative of truth to unfold fully, each fact clear and undeniable, each moment captured on the security footage reinforcing Tiana's innocence. The tension in the caf slowly began to release, like air escaping from a tightly wound balloon, but the impact of what had occurred lingered, each person silently reckoning with their role as witness, observer, or bystander. Guests who had initially recorded the confrontation now lowered their phones, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others offering quiet nods of acknowledgement to Tiana's courage. The woman's attempts to rationalize or deny the footage were weak, faltering under the collective awareness that she had been wrong, that her assumptions had caused public humiliation and distress to an innocent person. Tiana remained composed, her calm demeanor a quiet rebuke to the chaos, a demonstration that dignity and patience could withstand the storm of false accusation. Marcus addressed the woman one final time, emphasizing the importance of understanding, fairness, and respect, and the crowd absorbed the words in reflective silence, recognizing the significance of the moment beyond the immediate incident. The woman's voice finally broke, a whispered apology barely audible over the hum of the caf, acknowledging her mistake, without fully regaining her former arrogance. Tiana exhaled slowly, relief mingling with lingering tension, knowing that the confrontation had ended yet feeling the weight of having endured public scrutiny. Marcus offered Tiana a few words of reassurance, his calm and measured tone reminding her that her strength had been witnessed, her truth had prevailed, and her dignity remained intact. The atmosphere shifted subtly, the caf resuming its ordinary rhythm, but the echoes of the confrontation lingered, leaving a lasting impression on everyone present. Guests returned to their conversations, but now with a new awareness, a deeper understanding of what it meant to witness injustice and to hold oneself with integrity in the face of it. Tiana continued her work, each movement deliberate and composed, a quiet testament to resilience and grace. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows, warm and steady, reflecting softly off the tables and floor, as if to honor the calm strength she had displayed. And though the confrontation had ended, the lesson of the day remained clear. Patience, truth, and composure could overcome even the loudest, most unjust accusations. The incident had tested her, the woman's anger had threatened to overwhelm, but Tiana had remained steadfast, and in doing so, had shown that character and dignity outshine anger and arrogance, even in the harshest spotlight. The crowd gradually dispersed, the tension giving way to reflection, the story continuing silently in the minds of every witness, a reminder that injustice can be confronted, endured, and ultimately corrected through calm, reasoned action, and unwavering integrity. The moment of truth had finally arrived. The security footage had spoken, and the reality of the morning could no longer be denied. The woman's expression, once sharp and accusing, softened ever so slightly as she stared at the screen, the undeniable evidence illuminating the truth for everyone in the caf to see. Tiana remained standing, her hands still clasped, her breathing steady, though the tension of the past hour clung to her shoulders like a heavy cloak. The footage showed her every movement, calm and purposeful, performing her duties with nothing out of the ordinary, never touching the woman's bag, never acting with ill intent. The murmurs of the guests grew quieter, curiosity and disbelief mingling with the growing sense of justice. The woman's eyes darted between the screen and Tiana, searching for some sign of guilt, some hint of deception, but found none. Her face tightened, then slackened, an acknowledgement forming silently that she had been wrong, that her assumptions and anger had caused harm to someone innocent. Marcus spoke, his voice calm and measured, repeating the facts and guiding the crowd to understand what had occurred. He emphasized fairness, patience, and the importance of truth, allowing reason to replace anger and judgment in the minds of those who had witnessed the confrontation. Tiana exhaled softly, relief washing over her, her posture still poised, her dignity intact, and the strength she had maintained throughout the ordeal radiated quietly, resonating with everyone present. The woman's attempts to defend herself became weaker with every passing moment, her earlier arrogance giving way to shame, a silent understanding forming that her public display of anger had been misplaced, that she had allowed assumptions to dictate her actions at the expense of another person's dignity. The guests, once mere spectators, now reflected on their own roles in the unfolding drama, aware that they had witnessed injustice, and that their silence or inaction could have contributed to it. Tiana's resilience had become the focal point, her quiet composure shining more brightly than the anger and privilege that had initially dominated the scene. Marcus approached Tiana and spoke softly, words intended only for her, acknowledging the courage she had shown, the patience she had maintained, and the integrity that had carried her through the ordeal. Tiana responded with a small, fragile smile, the tension finally easing, a moment of human connection and recognition that transcended the chaos that had filled the CAF moments before. The woman, now subdued, accepted the reality of her mistake, her shoulders slumping slightly as she avoided further confrontation, and the CAF began to return to its ordinary rhythm, though the impact of what had occurred lingered in the air. Guests whispered among themselves, some offering quiet nods or murmured words of support for Tiana, others reflecting on the lesson they had just witnessed about patience, fairness, and the cost of assumptions. Tiana resumed her duties, each movement deliberate, measured, and calm, demonstrating that true strength is often silent, resilient, and unwavering in the face of adversity. Marcus's presence remained reassuring, a reminder that guidance, fairness, and leadership can create an environment where truth prevails over anger and assumptions. The woman finally left the CAF, her departure quiet, her previous confidence replaced with humility, and the space seemed lighter, the weight of injustice lifting as the morning continued. The crowd dispersed gradually, conversations resuming, yet every person carried with them the memory of what had transpired, a reflection on the importance of judgment, empathy, and the value of giving space for truth to emerge. Tiana, standing alone for a brief moment, felt a sense of calm wash over her, the realization that she had endured the storm, maintained her dignity, and allowed reason and truth to prevail without raising her voice or abandoning her composure. The sunlight streaming through the windows illuminated her quietly, a subtle reminder that even in moments of public humiliation and unfair accusation, resilience, patience, and integrity create a lasting impact far stronger than anger or privilege ever could. The lesson was clear, evident to everyone who had witnessed the ordeal. Dignity is measured not by wealth, by status, or by who shouts the loudest, but by how one carries oneself when the world is unjust. Tiana walked through the CAF with deliberate steps, each one lighter than the last, every breath a testament to her quiet strength, and as she moved, the story of the morning transformed from one of public shaming to one of empowerment, resilience, and the ultimate triumph of truth. Marcus watched from a distance, pride in his eyes, knowing that the integrity displayed had changed not only Tiana's morning, but the awareness of everyone who had been present. The CAF returned to normal, ordinary sounds filling the space once again, but the memory of the injustice endured, and the composure maintained remained vivid, leaving an imprint on every witness, a story of courage, patience, and moral clarity. Tiana paused for a moment, reflecting on the ordeal, understanding that she had been tested in the harshest of ways and had emerged intact, her dignity intact, her strength recognized, not in applause, but in the quiet acknowledgement of those around her. And as the day continued, the lesson remained clear and profound. Sometimes the loudest voices are not the ones we should listen to, and sometimes true strength is not measured by confrontation, but by quiet resilience and unwavering honesty. For those watching this story now, remember that integrity, patience, and calm in the face of unfairness are qualities that define character far more than anger, wealth, or social status. If this story resonated with you, if you felt the weight of Tiana's journey, the tension of her trial, and the triumph of her dignity, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, and don't forget to hit the like button to support our content, and ensure that these lessons of resilience, fairness, and courage continue to reach more viewers around the world.